Hey everyone. I was hopping on here so we can start our discussion for September. Sorry, I'm like 10 days late. There's just been a lot going on. But we are going to be discussing about how to teach a blind person how to use a regular computer. So this is something that I had to do in high school. My mom had always used a Braille computer for the bulk of her adult life. And so when we switched and realized she really needed to use a desktop and eventually now a laptop computer, we didn't know where to start, um, which screen reader to use, and who would teach her. So she didn't qualify for our vocational rehabilitation services at the time. And so I was kind of left to help self teach. And for someone who's never worked a regular computer, it's very different. So her Braille computer, she doesn't really have, back then, there weren't really what you'd call like start menus and stuff like that. There were programs. So she kind of got that. And then files, she knew how to download those and work with them. But trying to do it on a desktop was completely different. So I'm just going to share with you a couple of the things that we started with for my mom. So we're going to do this. We're going to pretend we're starting with a blank screen. So that's how I had to start with her. Pretend there's nothing on the screen. And then I said, now on your laptop, on your computer, there's what we call the desktop. That's how your desktop has these icons. What's an icon? Like, think of it like a shortcut to your programs. And this is where we'll put things that you want to access quickly. So at the time she was learning like Outlook and web browsers, programs that were going to be used frequently, we'll put those on the desktop. But on your desktop, there's also a toolbar across the bottom. This has your start menu. This has other icons that you can use for quick access. It also has other details like where your internet is, what your sound is, the time and the date, and those types of things. Now, when we taught mom, it was in 2006, and we learned on Windows XP. So that was many versions ago. But this was one of the first things of teaching what the screen actually looks like, because my mom's been totally blind. She's never seen a computer screen. She is very tech savvy with the Braille computer, but again, it doesn't have all of these features. So she would use the tab keys to tap around and get really confused. Why is there a desktop? Why is there a toolbar? Why is there a system tray? And I'd have to sit down and break each of those down for her. Now we used Window-Eyes, which is now out of existence. And for me, it was easier than JAWS. One, because the cost was a little bit less, I think, at the time, but two, it used the Windows keystrokes. So I went to the library and I got a book on Windows for Dummies. And in the back, it had the keystroke. So a blind person does not touch the mouse. They use just the keyboard. Now they do have mouse keys they can use, but everything is done with shortcuts. So if we want to go to the toolbar, we use the Windows key, or we do Shift W, I think, Control W. But we use keystrokes for everything. So to do the desktop, she would do a keystroke to get to the desktop, to open up certain programs, because if they're on the desktop, you can make it so you use a certain key. So Outlook, I think, was Control Shift O, and she could have her Outlook and her email up. All of those types of things that we learned to do. One of the harder things to explain was the start menu, which Window has, because you can list everything. How do you find how to power off your computer? How do you find a program that you're not usually using? You want to open up a Word document. You want to open up an Excel sheet. How do you do that? So we worked a lot on just the basics. That took a couple lessons just because that's not something she was familiar with. So that is part one of the basics of how to teach a blind person computers, and we'll hit a couple more as we go along. So I hope you guys have a good week.